claiming the life of Tupac Amaru Shakur, the unextinguished flame of hip-hop. Nearly 3 decades later, in June 2025, the FBI resolved to reopen the investigation into the murder that shook the world with its crosshairs aimed squarely at Snoop Dogg. It all began with shocking videos capturing the final moments when Snoop Dogg allegedly took action against Tupac, forcing federal authorities to raise serious questions about his true role. Television news exploded with blazing headlines. Tupac, case revived. Snoop Dogg faces suspicions as mastermind as shocking videos. Resurface, revealing. Tense confrontations with Tupac. Fans erupted, dissecting every clip, every word, raising burning questions. Where was Snoop Dogg that night? Did Snoop cunningly orchestrate Tupac's ambush? Or was Suge, the iron-fisted mogul of death row, the true puppeteer, using Snoop as a pawn in a ruthless game? Dive into the videos to uncover the ultimate truth in the case that rocked an era of Tupac. 1. The FBI investigation. On September 7, 1996, a barrage of gunshots tore through the night, stealing the life of hip-hop legend Tupac Amaru Shakur. His death, like an unhealed wound in the heart of popular culture, left a trail of unanswered questions. Nearly 3 decades later, following a series of developments from Diddy's trial in early May 2025, the FBI announced the reopening of the investigation into Tupac's suspicious death. But this time, an unexpected name was thrust into the eye of the storm: Snoop Dogg, once Tupac's close friend, now suspected of involvement in the shocking murder. In the past, Tupac, Suge Knight, and Snoop Dogg were the 3 pillars of Death Row Records, a hip-hop empire that dominated the 1990s, not only through music, but also through the complex, intimate relationships among them. When Tupac joined Death Row in 1995, after being bailed out of prison by Suge Knight for $1.4 million, he quickly became the label's centerpiece. Snoop Dogg, already a star with his album Doggy Style, welcomed Tupac like a brother. Together, they created unforgettable moments like the hit 2 of America's Most Wanted on the album All Eyes on Me, 1996. Suge Knight, as the mogul of Death Row, played the role of a big brother, both a protector and a guiding force for Tupac and Snoop. He not only provided a platform for their brilliance, but also fostered an environment where they felt shielded amid the dangerous fault lines of gang life and the East Coast-West Coast feud. However, after Tupac's death, Snoop and Suge Knight emerged as the 2 most suspicious figures who could have betrayed their friend. And as the FBI stepped in, the truth began to surface. The new investigation sparked from a shocking discovery: a lost audio tape recovered from an old safe in a Las Vegas police station. The tape contained a conversation among 3 powerful figures of Death Row Records: Tupac, Suge Knight, and Snoop Dogg, recorded just 1 day before the fateful shooting. In the recording, Tupac's voice rang out with fury. "Snoop, whose side are you on? Bad boy is the enemy, and you're out there praising them on the radio." Snoop responded, his tone calm but cutting Tupac. "I just want peace. Music doesn't need war." Suge Knight, with a voice as menacing as a threat, interjected, "Watch your mouth, Snoop. There's no room for two-faced players here." The argument ended with the sound of chairs crashing and hurried footsteps leaving an atmosphere taut as a bowstring. The second reason came from a secret interrogation at a federal prison where Keefe D, with a gravelly but weighty voice, pointed directly at Snoop Dogg as the mastermind behind Tupac's assassination. Snoop wasn't just a bystander. Keefe D told the agents he knew everything from the plan to the execution. It was all orchestrated under his direction, from the streets of Compton to the studios of Death Row. This testimony, like a stone thrown into a still lake, sent shockwaves through the media and the hip-hop community, placing Snoop Dogg's name under the microscope of suspicion once again. This tape, like a spark, ignited the resolve of FBI agents led by veteran detective Rachel Hargrove to dig deeper. Hargrove was no stranger to the secrets of the hip-hop world. She suspected that the conflicts within Death Row Records were not merely personal, but tied to larger underground forces, gangs, money, and power. At a press conference in Washington, Hargrove declared, "We have reason to believe that Snoop Dogg knows more than he has ever revealed." The argument on September 6, 1996 was not just a war of words, but the spark of a deadly conspiracy. 2. Suspicious circumstances. Suspicious circumstances emerged on the day Tupac was shot, with the atmosphere in Las Vegas charged after the boxing match between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon at the MGM Grand. Tupac, Suge Knight, and the Death Row Records entourage were at the peak of their power, yet surrounded by invisible threats. Snoop Dogg, one of the label's brightest stars, was initially expected to join Tupac and Suge in the sleek black BMW gliding through the neon-lit streets. But at the last moment, something made Snoop change his mind. "I was supposed to be in that car," Snoop recalled in a rare 2000 interview, his voice lowering as if the memory still haunted him. But something felt off. "I didn't feel safe, so I decided to head back to Los Angeles alone." The investigating officers, led by veteran agent Rachel Hargrove, immediately zeroed in on this detail. Why did Snoop abandon the group at such a critical moment? A witness, once a driver for Death Row, revealed a shocking detail just before leaving. Snoop received a brief call from an unidentified number. The call lasted less than 30 seconds, and afterward, Snoop hurriedly packed his things, citing the need to handle personal business. Was it a warning from a secret source, or merely a coincidence? Hargrove, with her piercing eyes and hunter's instinct, asked, what did Snoop know that Tupac didn't? Who called him, and why did he choose to leave at that exact moment? Just hours after parting ways with Tupac's group, Snoop Dogg boarded a flight back to Los Angeles. But that flight, as he himself described, was far from peaceful. "I slept with my hand gripping a knife hidden under my pillow," Snoop shared in a 1998 interview with Rolling Stone. "I didn't let security come with me, so I had to protect myself. I felt something was wrong, like someone was watching." This confession, once seen as the caution of a star accustomed to a world rife with violence, has now become a critical piece in the FBI's investigation. Hargrove and her team began analyzing Snoop's behavior on the flight. A flight attendant who worked on that flight provided a striking testimony. Snoop repeatedly looked out the window, checked his phone, and refused all drinks or food. He looked like someone running from something, the attendant recounted. When the plane landed, he was the first to leave, practically running to the exit. The FBI hypothesized that Snoop may have received information about a plot targeting Tupac, and his decision to leave Las Vegas and keep his distance was not just about self-preservation, but possibly a way to avoid being implicated. But where did that information come from? And why didn't Snoop warn Tupac, the man he once called family? The suspicion surrounding Snoop Dogg deepened when the FBI unearthed a little-known interview conducted just 2 days before Tupac's death. In a conversation with a local radio station, Snoop confessed, "A week ago, Tupac was my best friend. But 2 days before he died, I thought he hated me." This statement, like a bullet lodged deep in the minds of investigators, revealed cracks in a friendship once thought unbreakable. 3. Clear evidence emerges. After the FBI launched their investigation, they uncovered new evidence that didn't stop at the surveillance tape. An anonymous witness, a former bodyguard for Death Row, came forward with testimony that shook the investigation. He claimed to have seen Snoop Dogg leaving a secret meeting at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Las Vegas, just hours after an argument with Tupac the day before Tupac died. Snoop looked tense, kept checking his watch like he was waiting for someone, the witness recounted. He whispered to a big guy in a black jacket, and I caught the name Orlando. Orlando Anderson, a notorious member of the Crips gang, had long been considered the prime suspect in Tupac's shooting after being attacked by Tupac and his crew in the MGM Grand lobby. The witness's testimony raised a chilling theory. Was Snoop the middleman connecting Anderson with Suge Knight to carry out the assassination as a carefully orchestrated act of revenge? The FBI didn't stop at the witness statement. They reviewed Snoop Dogg's financial history in 1996 and uncovered a suspicious transaction. $250,000 was transferred from an anonymous account in the Cayman Islands to a shell company called West Coast Ventures, which was identified as being directly connected to Suge Knight. This transaction occurred just hours after Snoop left Las Vegas, before Tupac was shot. FBI financial analysts suspected the money was part of a contract to settle internal disputes within Death Row, or worse, the price for Snoop's silence and support of Suge's plan. The deeper the investigation went, the more it exposed the dark corners of Death Row Records, a dynasty built on talent, but soaked in violence and conspiracy. An insider who had worked with Suge Knight revealed that after the argument on September 6th, Suge summoned Snoop to a private room at the Luxor Hotel. Suge looked Snoop in the eye and said, "Pick a side or you won't have a place in this world anymore," the source recounted. Snoop looked scared, but he nodded like he was agreeing to something. Another detail that raised the FBI's suspicions was that Snoop seemed to know Tupac's exact route on the fateful night. A security guard at the MGM Grand overheard Snoop asking a crew member about Tupac's movements after the boxing match. Snoop was asking very specifically, like he was trying to memorize it, the guard testified to the FBI. He wanted to know where Tupac was going with whom and in what car. Just a few hours later, the white Cadillac believed to be carrying the Crips shooters appeared at exactly the right time and place to ambush Tupac. So, what was Snoop Dogg's motive? According to public speculation and possible conspiracy theories, everything started at Death Row Records, where Tupac was the shining star, but also a volatile force. In 1996, he began talking about leaving the label to start his own empire, a move that posed a direct threat to Suge Knight's power. At the same time, Snoop Dogg felt his own spotlight fading under Tupac's rise. Suge Knight saw in Snoop the perfect ally smart enough to carry out the plan without leaving a trace. They decided the incident had to look like a random attack, and Las Vegas would be the perfect stage. Snoop was assigned to find a way to lure Tupac into the trap, while Suge would use his gang connections to execute it. Snoop Dogg knew that Tupac, with his fiery personality, could be easily provoked by conflict. He deliberately stoked tensions by publicly expressing respect for Notorious B.I.G. in a radio interview which angered Tupac and made him question Snoop's loyalty. Behind the scenes, Snoop quietly contacted several underworld figures pretending he was merely gathering information. Meanwhile, Suge knew how to turn a personal grudge into a perfect performance. He chose the moment after the MGM Grand boxing match when Tupac and his crew attacked a Crips member as the spark. Suge deliberately placed Tupac in the passenger seat of the BMW, the most vulnerable position, and made sure their route passed through a busy intersection that was easy to ambush. Suge took the role of driver, not just to deflect suspicion, but to witness the moment Tupac fell, to ensure the problem was solved. After Tupac's death, his mother, Afeni Shakur, who passed away in 2016, had left behind a will with a haunting message: "Find justice for my son, no matter the cost." Tupac's remaining family members, along with millions of fans, are demanding that the FBI release all the evidence. A post on X from an account claiming to be Death Row Insider went viral, declaring Snoop didn't pull the trigger, but he knew where Tupac would be that night. He sold out tea to save himself. Snoop Dogg, now a global icon with a music and media empire, is facing unprecedented pressure. In a live stream on X in May 2025, he tried to defuse the accusations. "I loved Tupac like a brother. I would never do anything to hurt him. I left Vegas on instinct, not because I knew what was coming." But his explanation was like a breeze in the middle of a storm. The FBI has summoned Snoop for questioning, demanding he explain everything. The FBI continues to investigate Tupac's case. Inside sources revealed that the FBI is pursuing never-before-seen audio recordings and even new testimonies from witnesses who had stayed silent out of fear. Though still sealed, these new pieces of evidence are expected to shed light on the true roles of key figures from the fateful night of September 7, 1996. With pressure from Tupac's family and millions of fans around the world, Agent Hargrove declared firmly, "Justice may be late, but it will come. The truth about Tupac's death will soon be revealed." 4. Is Tupac alive or dead? A bolder theory that has circulated on social media for over 2 decades is that Tupac is actually still alive. All the evidence collected over time has been tied together into a hot topic revolving around the allegation that Tupac Shakur was in fact a federal agent. This information was revealed in an interview that Snoopdog heard about, in which an officer disclosed that Tupac was essentially an industrial plant whose mission was to quell the conflict between the Red and Blue Street gangs. Tupac used his gangster image to inspire unity and call for peace, starting in Los Angeles, spreading throughout California, and then across the nation. He built this image as part of a mission to bring about social change. In reality, Tupac was a prodigious intellect. However, the plan failed, ultimately leading to his sudden death. There's also reason to believe that Snoop Dogg kept his distance from Tupac in Las Vegas if he really knew Tupac was a federal agent. Meanwhile, investigators into Tupac's murder uncovered another intriguing theory that Tupac is still alive. A 2010 interview with a rapper named Trey reignited this suspicion. In the interview, Trey revealed that he and Tupac had been close friends for a long time, even collaborating on several music albums. But the shocking part came at the end of the interview, when the camera kept rolling even after the operator had set it down on the floor. You can hear the interviewer asking Trey about Tupac, and Trey replies, "The last time I saw him, he was in Cuba. If you're not ready for this, then walk out. One last question." Then he laughed, and the interview ended in confusion. 2 weeks later, a video surfaced on a news website showing a man believed to be Tupac relaxing in a parking lot in Cuba. In the video, the man is surrounded by fans, shouting his name and asking for autographs. "Hollaback exclusive baby," someone shouts. And that's when the conspiracy theory of Tupac being alive in Cuba began to spread widely. Interestingly, over time, this theory has become less far-fetched, especially considering that Suge Knight, who was with Tupac on the fateful night, has repeatedly claimed that Tupac is still alive. Suge Knight mentioned in several interviews that Tupac seemed fine while still in the hospital. He said, "When I left the hospital, me and Tupac were laughing and joking. I don't understand how he went from fine to critical so quickly." But the strange thing is that police records stated Tupac was unconscious upon arrival at the hospital. So, how could they have been talking and laughing? Looking back at a 2008 interview, Suge Knight made it clear Tupac is alive and well. He was conscious on the way to the hospital. He was still conscious after surgery. When asked what Tupac's final words were, Suge replied, "The 11th. Since then, Suge has consistently maintained that Tupac is not dead. What's frightening is that after the 2008 interview, Suge Knight was nearly assassinated at a nightclub when someone pulled a gun and shot him 6 times. He refused to talk to police and seemed to know why. It was all because he dared to speak the truth about Tupac in a public interview. But this is when things got even crazier. His son, Suge Jr., made the same mistake. You see, in 2018, Suge Jr. posted on Instagram saying Tupac was still alive and living in Malaysia. After Suge Jr. made the post, he uploaded another photo showing a text conversation in which someone messaged him, "You've said too much, now it's time for you to go." This is when Suge Jr. began to panic, posting several pictures of Tupac alongside modern-day celebrities like 50 Cent and Beyonce. He acted as if someone was after him for leaking all this information. On the photo of Tupac and Beyonce, he captioned it, "He never left us, but they're coming for me soon." While some people believe it was just a publicity stunt to gain social media influence, others are convinced it's true, and that Suge Jr. knows more about the case than anyone else in the world because his father was there at the scene of the incident, and his father is none other than Suge Knight. 5. Reopening the entire case. But now, compare all of that with the police file on Tupac's death. You'll begin to notice the gaps in the story when it begins on September 7th, 1996. Tupac was in Las Vegas with the head of his record label, Suge Knight. The two had gone to the MGM Grand, to watch a Mike Tyson fight, but after the match ended, they spotted an OP in the hotel lobby. Knight and their entourage had arrived at the Mike Tyson MGM Grand. Keefe D., his nephew Orlando Anderson, and two of their friends were also there. Keefe D. told LAPD detective Greg Kading over a decade ago in a proffer agreement that couldn't be used against him. It was revenge after Tupac jumped Orlando inside the casino. Surveillance cameras captured Tupac furious because Lane had stolen his necklace years earlier in Compton. Tupac, Suge Knight, and their entourage quickly left the casino because security showed up and broke up the fight between Tupac, Suge, and others. This led Tupac and Suge to return to their hotel to change clothes. After that, they headed to a club to party for the night, jumped into their black BMW, started the car, and drove along the Las Vegas Strip. Around 11:00 p.m., the two would stop at a red light. On their way to the club, things would take a turn for the worse right in the middle of the street when another car pulled up next to them at the red light and started talking. Knowing about Tupac's concert at Club 662, the group, including Orlando and Keefe D., jumped into their white Cadillac and began driving down the street to find the target. It didn't take long before they finally spotted Tupac's motorcade. At the intersection of East Flamingo Boulevard and Koval Lane, the white Cadillac pulled up beside the black BMW with Suge in the driver's seat and Tupac in the passenger seat. The gunman from the Cadillac fired multiple shots, hitting Tupac 4 times in the chest, arm, and thigh. Suge Knight was only slightly injured by broken glass. Tupac was rushed to the University Medical Center in Las Vegas, where he died on September 13, 1996, after 6 days in critical condition. Nearly 3 decades after the assassination of Tupac Amaru Shakur, in 2023, a surprising twist occurred when Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, a former member of the Crips gang, was arrested and charged in connection with Tupac's shooting. Keefe D's interviews, particularly his statements over the years, became the focus of the FBI's reopened investigation in 2025. Keefe D gained attention when he began sharing his story in interviews and in his memoir, Compton Street Legend 2019. In the book, Keefe D claimed that he was one of 4 people inside the white Cadillac that ambushed Tupac at the Flamingo and Koval intersection in Las Vegas. He asserted that the shooting was an act of revenge stemming from the earlier altercation at the MGM Grand. However, he did not directly admit to pulling the trigger, instead implying that Orlando Anderson was the shooter. In 2009, Keefe D, then facing drug-related charges, agreed to cooperate with Las Vegas police in a non-prosecution deal. In interviews with police later partially featured in the documentary Unsolved: The Tupac and Biggie Murders 2018, Keefe D detailed the fateful night. He confirmed that he and 3 others, including Orlando Anderson, were in the white Cadillac. "I handed the gun to Orlando," Keefe D testified. "We followed Suge and T's car. When we got to the intersection, it all happened in a flash." He described the shooting of Tupac as a spontaneous act driven by anger after the MGM altercation. However, Keefe D emphasized that he was not the shooter, and he refused to name the others in the car, citing street code loyalty. When the FBI reopened the case in 2025, they viewed this testimony as a turning point, but were also suspicious that Keefe D might be withholding information to protect others or himself. A notable aspect of Keefe D's interviews was inconsistency. In some public appearances, like on Vlad TV in 2018, he seemed to exaggerate his role, even bragging about surviving the gang life's point of no return. But when interrogated by the FBI in 2023 following his arrest, Keefe D pulled back, claiming many details in his book and earlier interviews were fabricated to make money. "I needed the money, so I told stories," he told investigators, according to an October 2023 report by Rolling Stone. This led investigators, led by Agent Rachel Hargrove, to question, was Keefe D intentionally misleading to protect the real masterminds? Or was he simply an opportunist, capitalizing on Tupac's death to build his own notoriety? Posts on X in 2025 with the hashtag #KeefeDLies reflected the public's skepticism, with many believing he was playing both the FBI and Tupac's fans. One controversial aspect of Keefe D's testimony is the implication involving Suge Knight, who was driving the BMW with Tupac on that fateful night. In one interview, Keefe D hinted that Suge might have known about the attack in advance, though he provided no specific evidence. Suge is a smart guy. He knows how to play the game, Keefe D said with a suggestive tone. He also mentioned internal conflicts within Death Row Records where Tupac was becoming a thorn to Suge by planning to leave the label. The FBI analyzing this statement suspected Keefe D might be trying to shift blame to Suge to downplay his own involvement. Additionally, Keefe D repeatedly emphasized that Orlando Anderson, his nephew, was the shooter, but also admitted that Orlando acted with encouragement from the group. However, the FBI noted several gaps in Keefe D's testimony about Orlando. For example, he couldn't explain why Orlando, a low-level Crips member, was given such a crucial task, or how the Cadillac knew Tupac's exact route. Some investigators speculated that Keefe D might be protecting someone higher up, possibly someone inside Death Row or an outside force. Tupac's death wasn't just the loss of a hip-hop icon, but an unhealed wound for fans leaving haunting questions about the truth. As the FBI continues to dig deeper in 2025, secrets from that fateful night are slowly being uncovered, promising a day when justice might finally speak. Who do you think was behind Tupac's shooting the Crips gang, a force within the music industry, or someone else never before mentioned? Did Snoopdogg really know about the attack beforehand? Or did he just narrowly escape the doomed car? Was Suge Knight the driver that night, a victim or part of a larger conspiracy? Share your comments below. Thanks for following this journey for truth. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for the latest updates on the Tupac case and unresolved mysteries in the world of Hollywood. The truth will always find a way out.